morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today I'm going to be taking you through a floating card design. So we haven't quite had a chance to change over the setup just yet, so we are still working on a one camera setup for today, but I will try and talk you through everything that I can. So first of all, we've got a bit of a decision to make. So, by the way, still looking in Restream, haven't pinched Ian's phone yet. So do say who you are, just so I can say hi back. So your choice, should you wish to make one. We have a film base card, so we have some film quotes and some figures, stamps and a few other bits and pieces. Or we can do a more sort of nature inspired one. So we've got some layered flowers, layered butterflies and then some sentiments for our background. So hi Deb, hi Tracy. So as Tracy knows, I was in a little bit of a rush this morning because what I really wanted to show you I cannot find. It's disappeared into the ether. I put it ready to use the other day and it's grown legs and it has walked off into some corner of the craft room. So hence you get to choose which one you want to do today, because this is now me on the fly changing my mind. So looks like we have one vote for red carpet already. And if you want your name and icon to show up in the Restream chat that you see on the video, then what you need to do is you need to visit chat.restream.io/FB and then you can log in there, and then whenever you come on our videos you'll actually have your name and icon appear. So you don't have to do that, but if you'd like to, save you saying who you are each day. So, hi Linda. So, which choice would you like to go for? So far we've had one vote for red carpet. And I'll give you a few moments to choose. And if you're watching on YouTube, you don't need to do any of that because you come up correctly. For some strange reason. Okay, it is chat.restream.io/FB. And thank you, Tracy. At the moment it looks like it's going to be filmed on red carpet because everybody's been very quiet today. Oh, a little typo there in the link, so it's .io/FB. You gotta love autocorrect, haven't you? It's a real pain when it comes to links. Okay. So I'm trying to allow for the 30-second delay between me saying things and when you're hearing them, just so that you have plenty of time to vote if you want to vote. So your choices are red carpet or nature. And yes, Deb, it has worked. I can see you. Well, I can see you and Badger and Rabbit. And you should see when it pops up on the stream that you can see that it's you too. Although interestingly I can't see it just yet. No, it's chat.restream.io/FB. Okay, So, are we going to go with red carpet? Because everybody's been awfully quiet. So, given that I've changed my topic, I'm also going to change the card pack that I'm going to work with. So let's pull this one out and see what we've got in here. So I've tried to sort out my offcuts, which, yeah, is a world unto itself at the moment, because I have a tub that is full. So I've gone through and I've split them up into kind of colour themes. So I have a pack that's kind of specialist, and I think for red carpet you deserve something a little bit special. So let's pull out what we have in our stash, because that might dictate what size card we do. I have some really thick black card actually, which might be good for this technique. And we have some glossy card that might be good for doing some colouring with. Hello, Trouble.
Hello, peeps. Yeah.
And I can show that one now.
Okay.
No, my stamps have gone missing.
Which stamps?
The new ones that Mum got me for my birthday that I put ready to go have grown legs and walked somewhere. That had the little vase and the flowers. So instead I'm doing red carpet, and I will try and do something with those probably tomorrow. So I want to start off with my background, and I think I'm going to do that onto the black. Yes please. If you're doing a colour card, then you want to try and match your ink as closely to your card so that you've got like a sort of shadow effect, or use a Versamark. As I'm going to be going on to black, I'm going to have to go a little bit different. So first of all, let's decide how big I'm going to do my card. Now, given that I said this was going to be postage friendly, I'm going to try and keep it under the A5 for those of us that are in the UK. So I know the postage just vary between countries as to what they accept for what. I'm just going to tidy up this edge because it's just a little bit jagged. Actually, there's a little bit of a cut mark there. Does that go all the way through? No. Okay. Tell you what, I'm going to get that around. Have that as my front. Then I can tidy that up. Ooh, an echo. That's interesting. Shouldn't have an echo. There's nothing coming from this end. And yes, Linda, I can see that it's you now, and I can see that it's Tracy. And if you look on the video stream, it comes up with just your names rather than your icons. Whoever just commented saying that they're sorry that they haven't been around but things have not been good. I'm very sorry to hear that, but I'm watching on the restream chat, so all I can see is Facebook user. I could take some guesses, but I'm not even going to attempt to. And welcome back, Jill. Okay. So, let's grab my ruler, and I just want to double check my height. It's a little bit tall, so I'm just going to take that down just a touch. Now this is one of those cards that you will want to create a custom envelope for, so if you want to go back on the stream where we did that after, you can do. And I'm going to take my text stamps. Now very usefully on this sheet in particular, it's all one block anyway, but if you're using a sheet of stamps where they're all individual, you're going to want to lay them out onto your platform. these have been out before, they're just kind of stuck in the packet. There we go. You want to grab your stamp platform. And I'm thinking it looked really cool to do black on black with this, because I just want the hint of the text in the background. It's literally like a texture. Oh, sorry to hear that, Zena. If you want your name to pop up so that we can see who you are in future, if you go to chat.restream.io/FB, then you can log in there and your name will come up. Where did you get that work stamp? I think you mean the word stamp. So it's Ink Road, and it's a lovely lady called Emma, who I think is in the group, and she owns a store here in the UK, and she imports lots of stamps from America, including Ink Road, Kindred Stamps, I think she does. She does a lot of the My Favourite Things, that kind of genre. And it's very, very tempting to spend a lot of money. Okay, first things first, because I've been using a lot of clink stamps, I just need to change my platform round, so make sure that you can read clear, and then we can pick that up. Now you'll notice I offset my stamp in a little bit, and that's because I want to make sure that I'm going off the edges. So first bit I'm going to go to around about the middle of my stamp. So if I bring that across so you can see that a little better. Like so. I'm just going to move these magnets from underneath. So when you're arranging your words onto your card, if you're using individual words, you want to try and make sure that you have them so they go off the edge, like so. So we're going to be giving just a hint of those phrases, then we're going to be cutting an aperture into this card. Thank you. Is that peace offering, is it?
Well, it's only you that's moved them, not me.
I have a feeling they may have been put up on top of the die cutter when moving stuff the other day. As you're here, could you pass me the black and the stuff outside, please?
Black?
Yeah, down the bottom, middle.
Black. Sort of lucky grey.
Thank you. I'm going to do a couple of impressions with this just so I can try and get it as black as possible. Now the reason I've gone with pigment is it should be a slightly stronger black. That's my thinking anyway. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. Don't think I've got him quite missing doing this just yet. Okay. Just paying particular attention to these edges, making sure that we don't get like a halo around the edge. If you find that you can't get it to stamp nicely along that edge there, what you can do is go back in with your ink after and just tint the edge of your card. Oh, sorry there if I knocked the mic. Okay, so now that we've done that, I'm going to try and move card over. Now if you've used pigment ink, be aware that your card may still be a little bit damp, so just be extra careful. Pop the magnet up there. Okay. This time I'm going to ink up this side and that side. Yeah. Okay. Just going to move it over slightly because I've just got that nagging feeling that if I stamp that it's going to overlap, and that isn't what I want. So let's move it over slightly. A little bit of a gap between your words won't hurt, but overlapping is going to be really obviously wrong. Okay. Just going to give that a quick re-ink just because that move. Probably put my fingers in it. No, I don't think he does, you know, Tracy. I think he's far too happy where he is. He gets out of it. Now we'll see how long the light lasts today, because it's had its first full charge yesterday, so I'm kind of timing it to see how long it's going to last for workshops. Just want a bit more up on this top edge here. And let's get my brayer. Otherwise I'll be being told off. Yes, he's very happy there, which is really nice to see, I have to say. Okay. So if I hold that up to the camera, you should be able to see that you've just got this hint of the text in the background. So I just want to finish off top and bottom. So I'm going to do that really quickly, but you can take your time and make sure that you get it lined up. I'm just going to go by the grid on my sticky mat very roughly, and a little bit there. Okay. So if I go for that line there, I can line it up on the grid, press it down well, and I just need to ink up the bottom last few lines like so. And it's a different way of using your text stamps as well, so that you're not having to think, oh, I want to actually pick out that line there and that line there, sort of thing. Instead it's just a case of giving it some texture. Particularly with a stamp like this where it is all one strip, what you would usually end up doing is masking off along the lines that you don't want to use and inking along. Okay, so just going to clean my stamp quickly. With oxide it's not too difficult, just a little bit of water and bamboo, good old bamboo. So with the bamboo, because you can rewash them, what I tend to do is keep newer sheets for lighter colours, and then older sheets will go darker. because they do stain over time anyway, so it's quite easy to see which are which. And then the ones that are nearly ready to head out the door I use for black. So you can see it's just starting to go a little bit thin in places, so it's ready to go for a black one. And you can use them quite a lot before they get to that stage. Okay. Oh. So let's get this back on here. So I'm going to set that background to one side to dry for now. I'm probably going to use this as part of my floating design. Then I've got a background piece that I can use that's going to kind of form the border. But I want to have a couple of little details that we can at least colour. And let's go for... Ooh. Given that I've got my bond, let's go for... At least I think it's bond. In here. So just against our options, I'm going to lay out a few at once. Now, as you saw, these are quite sticky, so if you do have a sticky stamp, try and do what I'm doing now and placing them on here, so then when you've inked them up, they're not going to stick too much to your gloss card. So it does tend to be gloss card that you'll find will do this. And there's a few different techniques that we can do onto gloss card, which I think I will have to do another stream on, because we've got some range of resisting that we can use. Oh, sorry to hear that, Carol. But at least you'll always have YouTube. We're also back on Twitch today as well, so hi to Twitch if anybody's watching. I can't see numbers or anything. All I can see is Restream chat and the preview for the camera. It is good to have a backup. Very, very good. So I think rather than going for another one off the same set, I'm going to go one off this one. So we've got bond-ish. Let's go martini glass, of which I might do two, because there's martini glass in the other one as well, so we could pair those up. Like so. I'm going to stick that to my platform 2, but I'm also going to use this clapperboard because I think that'd be a really good way of bringing in some text. So again, I'm going to pop that onto my platform rather than onto my card, just because it is sticky. And see, I have shaken not stirred, but I just think that's just pushing the bundle ink a bit too far, that one. So I'll go for your star. I'm going to move that across there a little bit. Let's go back to my other sheet and put out the other martini. So when we're working with the same item from two different sets, usually you'll find there's a bit of a size discrepancy, which is good for us in this case because we want to have them overlapping. So the larger one will always be the front one and the smaller one will always be the back. So we can pop that on there. I'm just going to leave a little bit more room around my text because we're going to want to cut a banner around that. So in terms of ink, I'm going to go for something a little bit more permanent, I think. And let's go for... Ooh, actually, as we've got kind of a little purple thing going on, let's go for a permanent purple. So I'm going to go for elderberry. Oh Tracy, there's a story I could tell you about martini glasses, and there were definitely more than 3 of them. And yes, at least one of them was a proper Bond martini, made as per the books. And I can honestly say, as much as I am a James Bond fan, I don't like his taste in drinks. I do love a martini, but not like that. So because we're working with a permanent pad, we may need to do a couple of impressions just to get a nice even stamp. Oh no, Carol! That must have been so upsetting. Okay, so just gonna... Look, it's still gonna stick. Oh, come on, be nice. There we go, suction. Actually, that's not too bad. It's only his legs that have gone a bit dodgy. And we can cover that up. So that'll do. Let's take the stamp off. And I can clean those later. To be honest, there isn't a lot of ink left on them. So when you're working with a gloss cardstock, it's actually clay coated. So that's one of the things to bear in mind in terms of getting the ScanNCut to do it. And yeah, while I like Roger Moore as a person, he's not my Bond. So now it's time to start working on our cutting. So I'm going to clear my path a little bit. Just so that I can have a clear path to my machine. Okay. So first of all, turn your machine on is always a good start. Make sure your blade isn't in. Mine was more, I wouldn't shake or stir, I'd pass it to in and then laugh at the outcome. But I'll let Ian tell that story. But it was fun. And I'm sure if anybody else had been watching that they would have laughed too. honest. Okay, so I'm going to pop on my card with my text. And load that into my machine. Now, if you're doing something like this card on a CM, you're going to want to use your deep cut blade, because this is the 480 GSM from Ryman, so this is the thicker one. If you're on a DX, it won't matter quite so much. And I'm just going to straighten that up slightly, because it looks like it's gone slightly skew with. Important we do that before we do the cutting. Okay. So, next I'm going to do a background scan, just because we have got a bit of an unusual size going on. So if we go into pattern, we can choose any basic shape just to be able to access that background scan, and we can always take it. I love a martini and lemonade. Dry. Yeah. But no, I'm not with, yeah. That just, yeah. No. But we then moved on to the lychee martinis. They were addictive. That's all I'm saying. So I'm going to go for a circle. And I'm just going to set that up 100mm. Doesn't matter at this point. I'm going to do a background scan and start. Let's see if it'll let me. There we go. If I can get it at least there. Oh, that doesn't sound good. That would be the 480 falling off the mat. Oh, naughty. Naughty, God. I may restamp that yet, you know. Just because I want it a little bit darker. Okay. Stay on there. I'm going to have to do a catch out the other side because I don't have any desk at the back. There we go. It's a good job we've got different cables now. Otherwise I'd have actually done a hop, skip and a jump. Okay, so we can see that we've got our black card. So if you want to use a circle at this point, you can use a circle, and we're going to resize it downwards. If you want to use something else, you can go to add, bring that in, and then just delete the original circle. So I'm thinking I'm going to resize this down just a fraction. Not too far, because we still want to have a hole. Back there. I'm also going to move it down because the way that we're making this card is it's actually going to be in two halves. So you want to have enough border at the top of the card to actually adhere that back to the front. So that's how we're going to be saving on our postage, because we're going to try and keep our card as flat as possible. So at this point I'm going to go OK. Now also bear in mind we've gone right up to the 0 point of our mat, and when we're looking on screen you'll see we've got a white edge around this edge, and that shows you the active area. So when you're positioning something, you want to look to this darker line here and not the edge of your scanned material. It's quite important, that one. So I'm going to go and just nudge this back. So there's slightly more card here than there is here. So it's going to look like you've gone off a bit wonky, but it just means that it should end up being more or less centre when we cut. It's getting dark in here. No, it's not my light. Okay. Must be the weather outside. Okay, so I'm going to use my standard blade for this one. It means it's just a circle. And we can go OK and cut. And start. Okay, there you go. We'll go a little bit closer there. Stay. Okay, so you can see because it's thicker, it's going to go round a couple of times so that it gets through that thicker card. Okay, now there we go. So we have our hole in our more or less the centre of our card. We can balance that out. Okay, save the piece that you cut away because you can use that for something else, especially being the 480. It seems a lot slower too by the sounds. Yeah. It's one of those ones where it senses it and goes, that's awfully thick. I'm not used to doing that. Okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to go OK, go back so that we've still got our circle on the mat, and I want to do the circle I'm going to put through the aperture and onto the back of our card. So I'm going to pop my purple card in 1 inch from the edge of the mat in both directions. Okay. So now we can do our background scan, and hopefully this time it will stay on because it's a lighter card. Okay, and we can see that it's just slightly off. That's okay. We can just move that along. Positioning where you need to get it to fit onto that card. I'm going to take it up a little too so that I still have plenty of that purple card should I need it to mat and layer any of the other elements. I'm going to go OK. OK again. OK again. And go to cut. And go again. Sorry. It's doing a very good job of going slowly down. Okay. So set the waste card to one side in case you need it for later on. Get your metal spatula and we're just going to lift that up from the edge. So next I'm going to pop on my patterned piece. And I've brought it well in from the edge this time because I want to focus on getting it aligned to our design. Is that lilac colour? It's a little bit more muted than what it's showing on the video. Is there a job going for a new cameraman? Definitely. Definitely, because it's like rubbing your head and patting your tummy at the moment. And yes, I realise I got that the wrong way around. That was intentional, because it's like, yeah. Especially when we get the two cameras back, because then it's just like, well, do I want to have that camera on its own or that camera on its own? Do I want to have both? Which one do I want bigger? And then remembering to keep changing it. Okay, so the design on here is a stencil by Pretty Gets Gritty. And it's just being done with some distress, now I'll get this right, distress oxides. So off the top of my head I think it's Dusty Concord and Shaded Lilac. Yeah, we're going to have to find a way that doesn't make my Mac melt down though, Tracy. It didn't appreciate that very much when I tried it. Okay, so to do this, and I'm going to try and get it a little higher for you. Just can't quite get the right angle, but hopefully. I'm going to go back, do a background scan. Yeah, it made the Mac do a total shutdown midstream. But in the background, Streamlabs doesn't know to switch off, so it just keeps trying to stream even though it's not on officially. It's very weird. So let's go to settings, because we're working now with something that's paler, and we're going to turn it up so that our scan is darker, like so. We're then going to want to move that circle so it is roughly in the middle, very roughly. It's not the easiest challenge. We're going to go to Edit, Object Edit, Resize, and we want to take it down smaller. Now, how much smaller is going to depend on your pattern. Okay, but so long as it is at least sort of 5mm smaller, then you'll have a nice border around the outside. Yeah, Tracy killed my computer. And remember, it always resizes from the centre. So I'm going to go down and I'm going to pick out this detail in the middle. So even though that may look like it's going to be a lot different, when that comes to actually doing our floating panel, it's still going to bridge the gap, so to speak. So I'm going to go OK, and I'm going to use my buttons to nudge, and we can actually zoom in so that we can see that bit better. Oh, come on brain, that one, thank you. There we go. So if we zoom in, you can see that we've still got our movement buttons just here. And I just want to get it so that it lines up as close to this as possible. Now, one thing you may find with your machine, and each machine will vary, is you may find it's very slightly off. Oh, Jill, I'm not that far from you. Not really. It's alright, Carol. Jill's at least same county. We tried to do it across the network so that we could actually do it so Tracy could dial into my computer and do it that way. But between the streaming and the dialing, yeah, it went dunk. And I can safely say that my light is slowly getting dimmer and dimmer. So that's going to be fun. We're going to have to mains power it for workshops. Okay. So if you find that you need to nudge it slightly to be lined up, do that. And I apologise now because it's going to keep making my phone flicker a little bit. This is going to hum a bit, but I apologise in advance. But it's going to help light it up a little. And let's see if I can just push those bits back a little bit so we're not quite such in shadow there. There we go. Because that's my light just died. Okay. And I'm going to cut that out. It did yesterday's stream plus today's, so it did about 2 hours, but a typical session for us on a workshop is 3 hours, and certainly the craft long weekend are 3-hour sessions. So okay. So we can still use that bit for something else. Or if you want to, you could stick that into your insert, if that happens to match what you've done as your card size. But I'm just going to take out that bit there. So then what you'll have when you close your card is something that looks like that. Next I have some Miri card. I'm going to pop that onto my mat. And let's go OK. And I'm going to wipe my circle. I'm going to go to Pattern, Text, choose a nice font. Let's go for this one. And I'm going to go for, well, if we do cheers like that, then what you can find is that you're going to struggle to get it where you want to get it. The camera control lasted, I think it was about 45 minutes it did in the end. Before it went, no. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to do a C. Actually, let's try it. Let's see if we can get it where we want it. And I'm going to use my spacing instead. Yeah, see, look, it won't let you do negative spacing so that you can get stuff close enough to weld. So, stick with your instinct, Natalie. There we go. So there's our C. Set, add, pattern, text. You can go for the same font or something different if you want to. So if you wanted to go a H in one font. And we could add pattern, text. Let's go for, that might have a nice E. And you can see it's going to build up along this line here. And add, let's pick a different E this time. So ideally you want something that is going to be all one piece, because we want to weld it so that it's actually going to bridge the gap across so that our centre panel is floating. Let's go for an E from that one. And want an R. Let's go for that one. And finally, I'm going to go for an S. Let's try that one. Yeah, that's in one piece, so let's go for that. So you can see there's a little bit of discrepancy between the height of the characters. So if I can't get any closer. And let's try and zoom in there a little bit. Let's see if I can lift that up. Now, just because our little stenciling's getting in the way, I'm going to turn off my scan, which is just that button there. There we go. So you can just see the text then, if it stays upright. There we go. Up a little bit, go. There we go. So because we've got that little bit of variation, we want to try and even that out before we start trying to align anything. And the worst offender is this R. So if we go and edit that one first, we're going to reduce that down. Okay, that looks about right, so we'll go OK. If we click onto something else, you can see that we've got a height of 31. So I'm just going to take that height up just a little bit on that one. If we make these all 31, then we know that they're all pretty much in line. Okay. Go on. Just a little bit further. So I'm going to go OK, OK, and go to this little button here. So that aligns things on your mat, so that we can just kind of just go and get those back into a line. Now if it does something daft like that, then you can just reorder using your arrow keys, but you just want to make sure that you've got everything up against that top line. So let's get me and if we go into edit, we can change which item selected using the arrow keys, and then we can just move that back out of the way. So the E is probably where it needs to be. The H definitely is not, so let's move H and bring that E there. Now as we're doing this, we want to start to overlap at least a little bit, because you want to have it so that you've got this as a solid. So I'm just going to use my arrow keys just to nudge that back a bit. I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so I can check that these are actually overlapping. So that's overlapped, that's overlapped. I'm just going to move that R down so I can get to that C. Let's get that C in there. Now, if your text doesn't look right when you're doing this, you could bridge it using a really small basic shape and then weld those together. So don't think, oh, I can't do that. You can, it's just you've got to be a little bit more patient with it. So, looking at that, it's joined at the bottom of that E, but it's not quite there at the top. But that's okay, I think. That one looks okay, that looks okay, that one looks okay. It doesn't have to be overlapping by a massive amount, just as long as there's enough there that it's going to catch. I'm going to go okay, okay. There we go. Stay. Select all. Okay. Project edit, and we're going to weld those together. There's always one, isn't there? Okay. Now it's a process of elimination. Or let's go move this down a bit. A little bit of cheating going on here. So I've done an offset, and see if we can weld the offset instead. So I'm just going to go okay, delete that original text. It loses a bit too much detail. It's close enough. I can always doodle that. Let's see if it'll let me do it though. Ungroup it, weld it. So weld and offset. There you go. There's your answer. So let's go for, rather than doing cheers then, yeah, go for it. I'm going to go for let's keep it even simpler. Let's have wow your star. But I'm still going to go for different text just so that you can see that again in slow-mo for what I did. So W, let's go for an O from that one. And another W. And let's go for something equally black. Let's go for that one. So there's our wow. I'm going to bring it into the middle just because I want to do that offset in case it doesn't work. I'm going to bring those in like so, so that we know that they're overlapping. And let's do our nudging. Just double check. So that one can go back a little bit. It's a little bit too overlapping there. Like so. I'm going to go OK. OK. Select all. And if the welding won't work, we're going to go to group, like so, so that it's doing everything as one. Go to offset, and I'm going to just do a offset of 1 mil because it doesn't give us the option of doing 0. Okay, go OK. So at the moment it still has that original group selected, so if we bin that, then we're just left with our big ones. Go to Object Edit, Ungroup, and Weld, and OK. Ta-da! Now you'll notice it's lost the centre of the O, Again, not too bothered because we can just bring that in as a circle or an oval. So if we go to OK, and OK, I want to go to add, pattern, basic shape, and I'm just going to bring in a circle. I'm going to break it down a little bit because we know it's going to be quite small anyway, and just set that and bring that roughly down there. Now before we go too far in terms of resizing that centre circle, we want to make sure about the size of our wow. So if we've got our aperture here, we know we want to go beyond it on both sides. So let's grab a ruler, and my machine is currently set to millimetres, so I'm going to measure in centimetres, and I'm going to want it to be about 10 centimetres wide, or 100 mil. So let's do that first. So I'm going to check my size, and we're looking at our width, and I'm going to increase that to 100 mil. We can then go to our circle. We can shrink that down a little bit. Pop that into the centre of our O. If we press that button just there, that's going to mean that we just work on either the height or the width independently. And whoever's just said good morning, you may have noticed that everybody else's names are coming up and yours hasn't. To do that, you just need to go to chat.restream.io/FB so that I can see who I'm saying good morning to. So I will say morning, but I have not a clue. So, width. I'm going to reduce that down slightly so it's going to be slightly more oval. And then I'm just going to nudge that over slightly. So maybe let's just click off that for a moment. So we can see, oh wow! Thank you, Tracy. So I'm going to go OK. OK. Now because it's mirror card rather than normal card, I'm just going to change my blade from my standard to my vinyl. Just because I tend to find that I get a neater finish when I use my vinyl blade on mirror card. Okay, I'm going to do a background scan because the last thing I want after I've done all that is for it to cut off to one side. Okay, and because it's darker we're going to go back to our lighter scan. And there's our card of our wow. Now if you need to move that, a few important things to say. Do a select all, object edit and group before you try and move anything. Otherwise that centre of that O that you've oh so carefully aligned will get lost, and we don't want that. I'm going to pop that up to that top corner, and we can go OK, OK, OK. I'm going to go to cut. And just going to change my pressure because I've changed my blade. Ah, there we go. Hi Jennifer. So that means that we have our card front with our very subtle texture. We have our other elements that I'm going to direct cut in a minute. And then we have our circle elements. And this gives us our text. check that that's cut okay. Nice and gentle when removing the memory card. There we go. And let's move that back down for now, just so that you can see how it's done. So this is definitely one of those objects where you are better with your metal rather than plastic spatula, because it'd be all too easy to damage these corners. So hence I'm slowly sliding my spatula underneath and releasing it gently from the mat, because memory card does love to mark oh so easily. There we go. Now if you're working with card like this and you're finding that you're getting little bits of white appearing in here, usually that's because your pressure's a little bit too high. But what you can do, rather than having to recut it, is if you edge your card with a purple pen, you'll actually get a much neater finish. Okay, and you can always save the little circle for something else if you feel that way inclined. Now I'm going to do a direct cut, and even though I've stamped my images well in from the edge, I'm still going to bring in just a little bit, so that we have that inch gap around the edge. I can get it high enough. There we go. Okay, so back over to our screen. I'm just going to zoom back out a little touch. So if you need me to zoom in on anything, I do try and watch comments as much as I can when I'm doing this. So I'm going to go OK, home to reset. Okay, if you do like your text design, just save it before you do that bit. And we're going to go to scan, direct cut, because we're cutting out directly from the card that we have on our mat. I want to use the machine rather than cloud, just so that I don't have to hop off stream to do it. And when it has black and white here, what that actually means is that it's high contrast. Now, with our stamping, we've got some areas that are quite high contrast, but then there are others that are lower. So, for those reasons, I'm going to go colour. Okay, in the hope that I can catch it all at once. That's the plan. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to have to get down inside the machine, flick the lever. So what that little lever's doing at the side is actually raising and lowering where it's scanning. So when you're drawing, it will be lifted up and out of the way. When we're scanning, we want to lower it back down so it gets a nice sharp scan. So if you're finding that you're not getting a good scan, chances are your lever's not in the right position. He is drinking champagne and not a martini. What makes me laugh is they then give you the martini glass to, like, it's not really Bond on this because he's got a champagne glass. I'm sure Bond does drink champagne. Well, we know he does. Bollinger, not just any champagne. Yes, definitely too much for Bond fan. Okay, so we're going to bring in our frame so that we're just going around our stamped images. It's going to save a little bit of the time in when it's trying to scan those and work them out. We're going to go OK. I couldn't possibly comment on that one, Tracy. Okay, so you can see at the moment that wants to, unfortunately, decapitate our poor man. And that's because it's not quite picking up on the shading that they've used to do his face. Now, there's two ways that you can approach this. Number one, you could let it cut it out so that you literally get that cut out and then cut out just a little bit and stick his head on. Which you could probably get away with this one because you've got that really harsh contrast line between where his head is and where his neck is. If you see what I mean. Or you can just skip that one for now and concentrate on the ones that you have got. So it's done. This martini glass seems to be okay and this one seems to be much better. Our text is going to be no good, so we can start off by sorting that out. And just by popping that up by 1mm, you can see straight away it's taken away that text. It's also stopped trying to go around the inside of our clapperboard. So if we go again, that's a little bit cleaner. Okay, so I'm going to go OK for now. I'm going to go OK again. Now, this time I'm going to go to offset. I'm going to go out 1mm. Okay. Now we can actually edit if we need to get rid of anything that hasn't picked up. So I'm just going to go through and just check where everything is lining up. So you can see that at the moment his head's still kind of there, so we definitely don't want that. So we'll get rid. The martini glass is okay. His body, yeah, it's okay. The clapperboard, oh, it's done his hands separately. Again, we can live with that. But the stem of the martini glass, it hasn't done right. Just there. So if we were to take that away, let's see what you're going to be left with. So it's going to have got rid of this bottom section around here because there's that little bit of a gap in the stamp. Okay, so one way around that would be to grab a purple pen and just fill in and then rescan if you want to. And also if you look at your stamped image, if I do it this way, you can see that we've got a gap in our clapperboard here. So what I'm actually going to do, I think, is take that offset off, so it should go around pretty much this line here and then around here. Then hopefully we can nest those two elements together, and then we can actually, when we adhere these to the card, just bring those two elements closer together like so. Yeah, he's going to be a guy losing his head. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my offset and I'm going to say no. So don't ever think that you are stuck with a decision that you make with your machine. In most cases you can go back and go, actually that's not working for me one way or another. So even if the undo button doesn't work, usually you can go back and either reverse your offset. So if you've offset it outwards by 1mm, you can take it back in by 1mm, and you should be pretty close to where you started. Okay, so let's try that. I might just give that martini glass a miss. Let's take that one out, just because I know it's misbehaving. And let's go for it. If all else fails, it's just a case of restamp it. So while that's doing that, I'm just going to cut a piece of white card that's going to match our card front in terms of size. Grab the pencil. And this is probably the really boring bit because you don't really see it. But I'm just going to cut that to a rectangle so that we can attach that to our card. Up a little bit. There we go. And that has not cut that enough. So let's send it round again. Okay, so there's our white card. I'm going to score it at the top so that we have a nice fold. So I'm just going to get my embossing tool. So camera down here, there we go. You want to apply some double-sided tape to this line here. Just because I need some wider tape, I'm just going to use a couple of lines. And there's another double-sided tape finished. There we go. So you can see now I included some form of adhesive in every goodie bag, because by the time you've kind of got all your projects made, you'll soon be out of adhesive. Okay, I may just need to tidy that edge up. There we go. We're getting there slowly. We're going to take our purple circle and we're going to steer it through our armature. So I'm just using some Tombow Mono. I'm just going to slide that in place, then gently lift up the front of the card so that we can adhere that down to the back. gently fold back the card like so, so that we have that hinge. Now I'm going to carefully line my centre circle, and my text I'm going to want to adhere to these edges here and also to my centre circle. So if you're struggling to stop it moving about too much, I'm just going to use a little bit of masking tape. I'm just going to roll it up so that I've got a little roll of tape. I'm just going to pop that onto the back of my panel. Going to line up, so decide exactly which way you want your stencil to go. I'm going to go that way. Then we need to go down the outside edges of these W, and then I'm going to go with the glue around the centre of the O2. Now, because this is mirror card, you want to go quite careful you don't get some on the front. And I'm going to go like so. So there's our wow. Maybe up slightly so it just looks like we've got the kind of see whether our machine has managed to cut it this time. There we go. That's a bit more like it. So, metal spatula. And let's get you back and up there so we can see our headless man. Again, don't worry about the fact he's headless. We're going to sort that out. Or we may not do. Quite like him like that actually. Now bear in mind that because we've got this kind of open panel, that if you've got something where you need to have it in one piece, you won't have that card to adhere to. So for instance, if we're going to adhere our man just there and expect to put his hand there, we're not going to be able to because there's a hole. So we're going to have to be a little bit clever, and I'm just going to put him just down to that side so that I can pinch that hand back in. So let's do that next. I still like the idea of leaving him headless. Oh dear. There we go. So there's our man. Then we've got his little champagne glass. This is going to be a little bit fiddly. And that's going to go right in there. Okay. So the Tombow Mono is water-based glue, so it should dry totally clear. Now, I want to put the You're a Star on my clapperboard, so I'm going to pop that just there, and I'm not going to stick it down just yet, because I'm just going to plan my layout. So the clapperboard's going to go just there. martini glass. I'm going to do a kind of a weaving with it so that it goes over and under. Okay, and my scissors next. So what I was thinking with the Eurostar is that we could either cut it out with a banner shape, or we can cut it out and mat it. And looking at the time, just because I'm aware that I'm crossing with people now, and I do apologise for those of you that usually watch Lou. I'll probably do the banner off stream, but then at least you can see what I'm thinking in terms of how it's going to look when it's all done. So it was a little bit of a change of plan for what I wanted to do. So originally when I was developing this card, it was going to be nice and pale and quite girly. So it's a total change to what I had in mind. But I will try and find those stamps so that we can do that as another stream, and you'll see that it can be a bit quicker than this. So this one's quite a fiddly one. There we go. So then that one is going to go behind because it's the smaller one of the two. And then the Eurostar is going to sit over the top. So I'm just going to pop that very quickly back onto my mat, trim that out with basic shape and offset it with some purple. And I think out of the two purples, rather than going for the mirror, I'm going to go back to the lilac-y colour, and everything's going to fall on the floor. There we go. So let's get that on there so you can see what I'm doing. Let's zoom out a little bit. There we go. So if I go OK, home, wipes everything out, then I'm going to go to pattern, and I'm going to go into the basic shapes, and I just want just a simple banner. So let's go for in actual fact, I think I might just go basic shape just to get it where I want it. Okay. I'm going to go for the fatter one because I'm going to be slimming it down to quite a bit. That's about right. Okay. And then I'm going to add a rectangle. I only want it very thin, so the height's only going to be about 11. But the width, I'm going to need it much bigger. Set, background scan, and off we pop. Okay, Leslie should be going live about now. That's very naughty of me. I'm a bit late. But hey ho. These things are sent to try us. So I'm going to zoom in. Oh, before before I do, actually, let's make that a bit darker. It's a bit light. There we go. Going to move that over the top, and you can see that it's just a little bit too big, and that needs to go over on the end there. And let's resize that down a touch. So object, edit, resize. Just going to take down that height a little. Okay, so that now has a height of 8. With our little flag shape, it needs to rotate that way round so that the flag's sticking out the right way. Oh, let's zoom in and see if we can get that better. And then I want to match those two up so that we can weld them. So at this point I'm not worrying about necessarily positioning it over the text and getting it in the right place. What I want to concentrate on is actually getting these so that they line up. So I'm going to go to all of them. I want to align them so that I know that they're aligned to the top. And again, I'm going to zoom in because I want to make sure that I get them overlapping. Like so. Okay. Select all, object, weld. Okay. Then we can do our offset. So we're going to offset it by 1.5 mil. Okay. And then we can move the big one down there. And the little one over there. So now we want to make sure that we get that rotation right so that we can pick up our text. So I want to rotate it like so. Remember, rotation happens from the centre, so you want to get it roughly lined up where you want it in the centre and then rotate. And I do apologise for the racket outside. Okay, and I'm just going to nudge that one across just so that it's definitely in that purple card. Okay, 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 and I thought that was important that you just saw how I create that shape. So while that's cutting, I'm going to say goodbye for now, just as I don't want to interfere with Leslie's live. And I will see you tomorrow. Now do keep an eye out on the pages and the group for the finished project, and let me know if you have any questions when you have a go on your own. So take care and